Apologies if you guys hear a fan in this video. I'm going to try to decrease that background noise, but I have no AC. My AC is broken, and we're always breaking records in heat every summer, so I'm sorry, you have to bear with me here. But moving right along, so Kazuya is out tomorrow, not today, but he might be out by the time some of you guys are seeing this. Either way, he's here now, and if you look in the We Made It section, normally this is where I throw in the character that got in, and there's two exceptions, one of them now being Kazuya, and the other one is Byleth. I have to use Eldegard instead of Byleth, but here you have young Heihachi instead of Kazuya. It's the best I can do because this tier list doesn't feature Kazuya. This tier list features a shit ton of characters, but does not feature Kazuya. But it's okay, we understand that Heihachi is a Tekken rep, we understand that Kazuya is in and he's a Tekken character, and that's fine. Also, in the We Made It section, I typically put in characters who have perfect Mii Fighter costumes. So we have Sans, we have Cuphead, and we have Bomberman. Now, Shantae is a deluxe Mii Fighter, and she has a music track with her, so she's the only other character besides Sans and Cuphead that comes with a music track. But I didn't include her for one specific reason, and that's because I think Sans fans and Cuphead fans knew that they weren't going to be playable characters. I think they knew right off the bat that a Mii Fighter is basically the best case scenario, and everyone was really hyped just to see Sans as a Mii Fighter because it was such a meme to have him in the game as playable. And the fact they put in Sans and not Frisk, that's just hilarious. You have to wonder, did Sakurai understand that this was a meme, or did he understand that this is just like, did he just think this is what people wanted, So either way, I think everyone is pretty happy about those ones, including Bomberman, who was an assist trophy. So the Bomberman fans kind of knew what they're getting themselves into. Shantae being deconfirmed hurts a lot of people, and Dante being confirmed or deconfirmed hurts maybe even more people. People really wanted this character. So the fact that he's not in is kind of upsetting and shocking. But Dante was never really high up in my tier list. He was never one of the characters I thought was like going to happen or super likely or possible. And so yeah, I never really had Dante up there on my list of likely characters. I always felt like he didn't really make as much sense. I know some people think like, why not include him? And just because Bayonetta's in doesn't like deconfirm him, and it would be cool to see Dante and Bayonetta in the same game, and I guess now they technically are, but the reality is that it never really to me made sense. It just felt like if they're going to do a Capcom character, they shouldn't do Dante over Resident Evil, and Devil May Cry comes from Resident Evil. It was originally designed to be the Resident Evil 4, I believe, though I think that was in early development. So either way, so it doesn't really bother me, but I know a lot of people really wanted Dante, and this is your time to be upset. I was upset when we didn't get my boy Travis touchdown. His deconfirmation hurt me, but I kind of always knew he wasn't the most likely character. So either way, I'm going to try to be straight up and quick and get right to who I really think is going to be in it. When I looked at my most likely suspects list, I realized I don't have to change it too much. And what I'm saying here is I'm trying to decide what characters really, really make sense to be put in here. Now, there is a common theme going on with Fighter Pass 2, and that is a lot of the characters included are characters that kind of fix a problem with Smash, and or are a character that probably should have just been in the base game. It's kind of both things. Because in my opinion, I think all of these characters, like maybe not all of them, but like 3 of them at least, probably should have just been put in the base game. But, we have to remember that Smash, they spent a lot of the character development on characters that weren't featured in Smash 4. So they wanted to bring back everyone and make everyone a returning character, as well as update and fix the huge roster of characters in the first place. So I always figured that's part of why we didn't have as many newcomers compared to other Smash games. We also didn't have very many new stages, but the stage total list is like, over twice as much as Smash 4. So that's just like, insane to think about how there's so many stages in this game. But, again, not a lot of them are new stages. However, we have a lot more new stages thanks to the DLC. We have a lot of new characters thanks to the DLC. So the DLC was they basically said DLC will be all newcomers, so none of you have to ever worry about a returning character. And so here we are. So a lot of people are making this comparison. I did as well, but a lot of people are making this comparison. I'll briefly go over it really fast. But the reason why people are saying a lot of these characters are characters that probably should have been in the base game, or these are characters that's fixing something that was missing about the base game, is because of just every character's origin. So Min Min is a character that Sakurai literally said he probably wanted to put an ARMS character in. A lot of people were speculating ARMS would get a character, much like how Inkling got in. ARMS is like the next game right after Splatoon that Nintendo made, so it just makes sense in that regard. Pyra and Mythra are very similar. I mean, I think Sakurai even said he wanted to put Xenoblade 2 in the game, and we got Rex as a Mii fighter as almost like as a compensation that we weren't going to get him anytime soon, or that he wasn't in the base game. And instead of getting Rex later, we got Pyra and Mythra, which is probably the better choice, honestly, especially because they have that whole switching mechanic. So this is probably the best case scenario for Xenoblade 2 character. And so yeah, it felt weird that Xenoblade didn't get in when Fire Emblem got in, because Xenoblade came out before Fire Emblem Three Houses. So they kind of deserved it, just like how Min Min kind of deserves it. But normally the Nintendo characters are saved for the base game, except for Corrin, and now except for Byleth and Min Min and Pyra and Mythra. So there you go. Then when it comes to Steve, of course, we all know that Steve was in talks to be in Smash ever since Microsoft was putting Minecraft on the Switch. Ever since then, Banjo is also being talked for Smash. So these are two characters that Microsoft and Nintendo agreed they should both just join Smash. So this was like all part of Nintendo's idea. So it was possibly... It's very likely that they were going to do the 2 fighter passes from the start. That way they could do Banjo as well as Steve, and also that way they could also include Sephiroth in the second pass after including a Dragon Quest character. Sephiroth brings along with him the spirits and music that Final Fantasy VII is missing. I truly think he's going to be the only character like this, because no other character in Smash is missing spirits or music. And I know a lot of people want Eggman, and I'm right there with you. I really want Eggman, and in fact, there is one thing missing from Sonic that I think Eggman could justify, but I'll get into that later. Obviously, there you might see what I'm talking about if you look down on my tier list. And then, of course, when it comes to Tekken, there's 2 things on this list that Tekken checks off. Number 1 is that Tekken is owned by Namco Bandai, and Namco Bandai has not had a second fighter since Pac-Man, which was in base game Smash 4. They didn't get a DLC in Smash 4, they didn't get a DLC in Pass 1, they didn't get a second character in base game for Smash Ultimate. I mean, come on, everyone was getting all this stuff, but not Namco Bandai. It seemed like it was only a matter of time, but for some reason, the fact that they didn't have a character in Pass 1, I started to write Namco Bandai off. I started to think, you know what, they probably just won't get a character at all at this rate. So we did luckily eventually get Kazuya, and there we go, Namco Bandai finally has another character. But I have a theory that Namco Bandai didn't get their character because he's Kazuya from Tekken, and the reason why it took so long is because I think they wanted to do Terry first. And the reason why is because even though Tekken is more popular than King of Fighters and more popular than Fatal Fury, which most games are, the thing is that Terry plays way more similar to Ryu, whereas Kazuya, we just saw today how massively different he's going to play from all of those characters. He doesn't have stronger versions of certain moves if he does the input version instead of his special B move. His B moves are his own special B move, and then everything else is like this, he just has crazy tilts. He has these diagonal tilts, he has a crouch dash that leads to even more moves, he has different moves as he's crouching, so it's not just a down tilt while crouching, he has different moves while he's crouching. It's insane how many moves he has. He's probably one of the most unique characters in this entire game. So Terry plays very similar to Ryu and Ken. Kazuya plays nothing like them. It would have been kind of crazy if Kazuya came out before Terry, and then Terry goes back to playing just like Ryu and Ken again. It makes perfect sense for Terry's game, because in Fatal Fury and King of Fighters, they both play similar to Street Fighter. But Tekken is nothing like those games. But hey man, Kazuya did pave the way for maybe a future 3D fighting game character, similar which... The only 2 that come to mind are Dead or Alive and Virtual Fighter. And I mean, Ryu Hayabusa is playable in like every Dead or Alive except for like their very original one. So I mean, it would be crazy if they gave Hayabusa all these fighting game moves. I really don't think they're gonna make him based off of Dead or Alive. I think they're gonna make him based off Ninja Gaiden. But he does have 3 variations of the same like character. There's Ryu Hayabusa from the NES Ninja Gaiden, Ryu Hayabusa from the 3D Hack and Slash Ninja Gaidens, and Ryu Hayabusa from Dead or Alive, where he's in a 3D fighter. So Hayabusa has a lot of freaking moves to choose from here, and he would be really cool. It would be awesome to have like this hybrid character that takes parts from all 3 variations of Ryu Hayabusa. I would love it. It seems like a no-brainer as far as like what to do here. Like you could have all those grapples and throws from Dead or Alive. You could give him some of his like punch and kick combos from Dead or Alive. You don't have to give him like all of the moves like Kazuya, but if they wanted to do a 3D fighter version of him, Kazuya is the precedent set right there. But it would be crazy to think of Hayabusa as another fighting game character. I think when people think of Hayabusa, they don't think of him as a fighting game character. But Hayabusa does have a legacy. It's not like he's only from like a few games. He really does have a long legacy, and with so many games thanks to these 3 different game types. So that is part of why Hayabusa is in my most likely suspects and why he's my number 1 pick right now, but he's also my number 1 pick for one very specific obvious reason. A lot of us have been saying Hayabusa makes a lot of sense for this game, and sometimes Sakurai doesn't want to pick the most obvious answers, and then when you look at Fighter Pass 2, yeah, a lot of these characters are not that obvious. When you look at Fighter Pass 1, Banjo was obvious, and Dragon Quest was obvious. No one else was really that obvious. In my opinion, I felt like Byleth was going to get in. I figured they'd save Byleth for Pass 2. I didn't think they're going to do Byleth in Pass 1. But, here we are. So I'm kind of glad they didn't do Byleth in Pass 2, because then we would have had like 3 first-party Nintendo characters. But hey, maybe we still will have 3 first-party Nintendo characters. I was predicting for a while that Pass 2 would be 3 Nintendo and 3 third-party. So we have our 3 third-party. Maybe we'll get our 3rd Nintendo. I don't know. So far, it's been 1-1. It's been first-party, third-party. First-party. No, wait, no. There's 2 third parties in a row. Never mind. But either way, we might get the final Nintendo first-party character. If that's the case, it's got to be a Pokemon character. There's no one else it would be. It would not be from any other game. Some people are really hyped on this Breath of the Wild 2 idea. Extremely unlikely. Okay. Breath of the Wild 2 isn't even coming out this year, is it? I think it's coming out next year. So, not going to happen. It's just not going to be Breath of the Wild 2, which is fine. Doesn't need to be. I think that's a waste anyway. So, yeah. But again, when I think of characters that missed their opportunity to be in the base game or should have been in the base game, a Pokemon from Sword and Shield makes a lot of sense. Pokemon Sun and Moon was a rather old game at the time, so it was kind of crazy to me that Incineroar even got in the first place. I kind of felt like they were going to skip Incineroar and possibly just do a Pokemon character from Sword and Shield that we just didn't know about yet or something. Or maybe just a different Pokemon, or maybe just not a Pokemon at all, really. But we got Incineroar anyway, so it just makes sense to include a new Pokemon. Whenever I use Eevee, Eevee just means any Pokemon because there's no option. It's just a Pokeball, because I don't think Eevee will ever be playable in any Smash game, but it just makes sense to include a Pokemon character. So, I mean, and before we move on, I should explain Hayabusa a little bit more, just so we're aware. The reason why a lot of people think Hayabusa will be in this game is because Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja have a fantastic relationship with Nintendo. And the fact there's no assist trophy and no spirit for Hayabusa is very suspicious. If you're that close to Nintendo, I mean, River City Ransom has spirits. Resident Evil has spirits. You're going to tell me that Ninja Gaiden has nothing at all? Please, I highly doubt that. If they include Ryu Hayabusa, they could also include spirits from Dead or Alive as well, just because, like I said, he's in both games. So there's plenty to pull from here, and Ryu Hayabusa has a lot of markability, again, because he's in those 2 games. He's also featured in the NES Ninja Gaiden on the NES Classic, which I don't think means like 100% they're getting in, but it is like, Nintendo recognizes that when we think of like the most iconic NES games that aren't made by Nintendo, you think typically Mega Man, you think typically Castlevania, and you think typically Ninja Gaiden. It's like the third one right there. The action platformer games on NES, Mega Man, Castlevania, and Ninja Gaiden. Those are like the top three. So again, it just makes sense to include him. He's a big, important part of Nintendo's legacy. But after NES, he's not really much on the Nintendo consoles, except for like the Ninja Gaiden 3D games, which are on every game console. So, but originally they were on Xbox only. I think people don't count on him and they count him out mainly just because the legacy of Ninja Gaiden 2 and 3 aren't that important. I think people see those games as not very good or not very memorable or beloved. And it's true. They don't really need to make a lot of moves based off of the 3D games. Just some moves taken from Ninja Gaiden 1 would probably be fine. And again, he's got a bunch of moves you could easily use from Ninja Gaiden on NES and Ryu Hayabusa's moves from Dead or Alive. So it's not like they have to rely on these games that are unpopular. And honestly, again, I still think he would just make a great character. There's so many moves to pull from. And I think making a composite Ryu Hayabusa for the first time, a character that uses all three versions of him, would just be badass. It would also be cool if he came included with his newer design and his classic design as well. Typically in Smash, Sakurai just picks his favorite version of a character. For Pac-Man, he picked the Pac-Man World version of Pac-Man. For Sonic Boom was the newest one on Wii U at the time, but he just said, no, screw that. We're going with the classic Sonic still. He kept that from Brawl. He didn't redesign Sonic. And when it comes to Mega Man, he could have picked the more anime-inspired version of Mega Man. He could have gone from like the Marvel vs. Capcom route or anything like that. But he made basically this perfect recreation of Mega Man from the NES game, but in 3D graphics. And I love the version of Simon. Simon has been redesigned like 2 times since the original 80s game. And seeing him like recreated, like the box art version of him from Castlevania, just perfectly recreated in 3D, doing the same like Belmont strut and even very similar animations as the NES game and even Super Castlevania on Super Nintendo. That was just badass. So I love his he's got an attention for detail, and he likes to recreate his favorite versions of these characters. So I could very easily see him putting in both iconic designs of Hayabusa, which typically Smash doesn't do. Typically, like I said, typically they do the classic versions, but with Hayabusa, he's so iconic with his newer design, more so than his old design. But his old design was the one that was in all the cutscenes on the NES, and that was one of the first games that had like cutscenes in between levels. So yeah, that would just be freaking cool to have both versions. This is nothing new. We've all been saying this for a long time, but Hayabusa just makes a ton of sense here. Thirdly, and fourthly, these next 2 characters, I think these are characters that also probably should have been in Smash, but the reason why we're waiting on them is because of whatever reason. With Crash, I think maybe they didn't want to do Crash and Banjo in the same fighter pass, so it's possible we get Crash. But keep in mind, I have him after Hayabusa and Pokemon for a reason. And when it comes to Doomslayer, well, I put him up here because I thought he had no chance at all when Vault Boy came out, but then Heihachi came out. And now if you think I still think he has no chance at all, now that Dragonborn is in the game, no. I think it means that Bethesda and Nintendo are in talks, and it's possible that if they're going to choose anyone, they would choose Doomslayer. Doom has a long-lasting legacy when it comes to video games. But I have him even under Crash because I think that the fans didn't really start clamoring for Doom until way later. I don't think people were really excited about having Doom in Smash until much after Smash 4's release, and people weren't really talking about him until we were talking about DLC for Smash. So it's possible because Doom is on the Switch, and Bethesda and Nintendo have a pretty good relationship as far as putting, they put Skyrim on the Switch, and now they have Doom on the Switch. So it's not like it's the most impossible thing to have Doomslayer in Smash. It's very possible. And now that Microsoft owns Doom, I think it makes it slightly more likely. But you have to remember, a lot of these negotiations probably happened before Microsoft acquired Bethesda, so it might not make a difference either way, but it would be really cool to see the Doomslayer in Smash. And now, obviously, I still think Master Chief would be way better than Doomslayer, not just because I happen to be biased and like Master Chief more. Hell, I played the original Doom a lot growing up. The original Doom on PC still holds up. I think it's a fantastic game, and I've beaten it multiple times. But I've also beaten Halo multiple times, as well as Halo 2, 3, and Reach multiple times. I love these games. I love the multiplayer, and I think that Halo's weaponry would be better for a character, but I don't think they would have saved Master Chief for a final character reveal after E3. I feel like E3 should be the biggest one, but some people are speculating that we might have to wait for the final character all the way till the Game Awards. Some people are thinking that the final character won't just randomly drop in like this fall, like September or October or something. If we really have to wait till the Game Awards for the final character, then might be Master Chief. But I really wouldn't want to wait for the Game Awards. There's only one character left, so to keep waiting this long just seems ludicrous. But I don't know. They said that this pass will be done before January 2022. So I don't know. It's like, yeah, there's plenty of time to wait before January 2022, but like, holy shit, we really have to wait that long compared to every other character? Every other character is just like a few months between. So why do this, you know? Unless they have some sort of update in between, like in the fall they have some update that includes new stages. Curiously, in the Kazuya trailer, it showed Kazuya fighting Mario and Bowser on the boss stage you fight Ganon on. Now, it shows the same stage for Sephiroth's trailer, but the difference is it just shows Sephiroth by himself. It doesn't show Sephiroth fighting multiple other characters. On this stage, for Kazuya's trailer, it shows Kazuya fighting on the boss stage against Mario and Bowser. So if some of the boss stages could be playable, possibly, even if it's only for other Final Destination and Battlefield modes, and that's all you get, I think that would be cool. Especially because after Small Battlefield came out and they added in the random map features, it was kind of weird. It seems like there's going to be a weird odd number of empty stage spaces, and unless a character gets multiple stages to fill the rest out, I don't know why they did that unless they were setting up more stages coming out later. But we're this far in and we haven't got another stage yet. And that Small Battlefield came out like a few weeks after Min Min did. So the fact that we still haven't got another stage yet kind of makes me have to throw that theory in the trash. I think if I remember correctly, it was like 3 stages that were going to be left as empty slots. So if we got at least one more stage, or maybe if we got the ability to play on boss stages, that would be really cool. If they just put in all the boss stages in, that would be so dope. But we'll just have to see what we get. And so next on my list is in the could happen but not sure category, because I'm really not quite sold on Rayman yet. But I think Rayman would just be so cool, because one of the original first convincing fake leaks was Rayman for Smash 4. And it would be really awesome to just end all of these characters with Rayman. I mean, that would just be like this full circle moment. Rayman has a spirit in Smash, and so does Shantae, but Shantae just got a Mii fighter and Rayman didn't. Again, I think it's kind of suspicious that when there's normally 5 Mii fighters and we only get 4, it's like, okay, and you're not going to have Hayabusa and you're not going to have Rayman? That's sus. Not to mention, we have Bethesda Mii fighters. They could easily do Doom Guy as a gunner. It's right there. It's right there. In fact, I think if they did either Master Chief or Doom Guy, they'd really need to include the other one as a Mii gunner. Though, doing Doom Guy then having Master Chief as a Mii gunner is such an insult. It has to be the other way around, which would probably piss off all the Doomslayer fans. But come on, it would be Master Chief. Let it go. But anyway, Rayman is possible. He would be a really amazing Mii brawler, don't get me wrong. But he's not he's not out of the realm of possibility. I have no idea how they can make him have a moveset that would be exciting or fun, especially considering that most DLC characters have some sort of cheesy bullshit. And so the fact that Rayman would probably have nothing like that makes me think I have no clue what they'll do with this character. So I don't even think the moveset is there in the first place. So I really don't think he has a chance. But then when you put on top of that he would need like weird DLC gimmicky bullshit, then I really don't think Rayman has a chance. But I'm going to say he is allowed to be here. And the reason why is because if Heihachi can be a Mii fighter and then Kazuya come out later, then I don't see why having the Rayman Rabbids come out and having Altair from Assassin's Creed come out, I don't think that means it deconfirms other Ubisoft characters. But I will say that there was a guy who leaked something about Brawlhalla that eventually came true, and he said he didn't hear anything about Rayman for Smash, which makes me think maybe he just doesn't know. But it is not the most likely pick, and I'm admitting it right here. It's really not that likely. After that, we have Kiryu, who I just think if they wanted to put a Sega character in, they'd put Kiryu in. But hey, Sega might not get another character. Tough shit. Obviously, I always have this here. If they break the rules, it'll be for him. I still think Waluigi has a chance. I think Waluigi has a better chance of getting in than like Doomslayer. I think Crash Pokemon and Hayabusa have a better chance of getting in over Waluigi. But I honestly, if Waluigi didn't have an assist trophy, he would be like number one, you know? I have him on if they break the rules, it's for him for a reason. And they broke the rules for Kazuya. Hell, they broke the rules for Min Min, which then when Pyra came, well, the rules were already broken, so of course you can do Pyra. Sephiroth broke the rules too. The only character that didn't break the rules this entire pass was Steve. That's the only one. So, rule breaking is sort of a thing with this pass. The only difference is that Pyra didn't break a new rule. She just broke the same rule that Min Min already broke. But Waluigi could be the one to break the assist trophy rule. He could be the first playable assist trophy. Well, you know, I mean like a DLC character that has an assist trophy in the base game. We haven't seen that happen. We've seen like Dark Samus and even Little Mac become a character after being an assist trophy in the previous game. But we're talking this is still the same game. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. Extremely unlikely. That's my Master Chief, my Scorpion, and my Lara Croft. Now, extremely unlikely means it could still happen, and if it does happen, we're all going to jump up and down and be excited and hyped, especially if it's Scorpion or Master Chief. Possibly Season 3 next game. Well, there's not going to be a Season 3, so possibly next game. Chun-Li. Now, I thought Chun-Li, I actually, before Kazuya was revealed, I said, I hope it's Chun-Li. And, well, it was a fighting game character, so I'm still happy because I love fighting games. Now, down here we have the Dream. The Dream is important because I have a theory. So, Sonic has everything he needs in the game already. He has music and he has spirits, but it makes no sense to me that Shadow wasn't included as an Echo Fighter for Sonic. It actually baffles my mind. Now, when you think of the most deserving third-party character to get an Echo Fighter, I'll be real. I'll be honest. It's Ken. Ken deserves to be an Echo Fighter over anyone else in the game. He deserves it. Past that, the second one is not Richter. I'm sorry, it's not. In fact, you could have just named Simon Belmont, which is what I originally thought they were going to do. I thought they were just going to make a character named Belmont and then give him different skins, or maybe one other skin that makes him another Belmont character. But now that Hero is out, and Steve also has 4 characters in one, they could have done the 4 characters in one thing with Belmont. Now they didn't, but they could have. I'm perfectly fine with them doing it. I have no qualms with having more characters, and I think Echo Fighters are awesome. I love Richter's cheesy one-liners, and I think Richter is a way cooler character than Simon. Richter is probably the best Belmont outside of Simon being the OG, so I love this. And also, of course, a lot of Simon Richter's moves come directly from Richter's moves in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Never played Rondo of Blood, so I couldn't tell you, but at least in Symphony of the Night, he's got all those moves. So I always figured, I figured that's why Richter got to be the Echo Fighter, because Simon Most of their moves were a combination of Simon and Richter anyway. So, yeah, makes sense. But when it comes to Sonic, he deserves an Echo Fighter more than Simon and Richter, okay? When I think of characters that are like the most obvious Echo Fighters that totally deserve to get in because they've totally earned it, it's Shadow. And I mean, Sonic Adventure 2 is the most popular Sonic game like ever created. It's the one most people think of. It's the one most people know. It was the first Sonic game on the Nintendo GameCube, period. And that means the first Sonic game on a Nintendo console, period. So the idea of not having Shadow, it just blows my mind. I mean, if we're talking for Echo Fighters, it makes sense. Now, you could say Shadow doesn't deserve it on the grounds that Shadow isn't like the main second character in Sonic, whereas Ken is so synonymous with Ryu that it hurts. Like, Ken is always there with Ryu in every game. Sonic and Shadow aren't always together. However, they are together in Sonic Adventure 2, where they are direct rivals, and then they save the day fighting together. Sonic and Shadow also save the day in Sonic 06 alongside Silver's help. Now, again, I'm not saying Shadow is the main second character or anything like that, but he is Sonic's direct rival. He has a lot of similar moves as Sonic. It just makes sense to include Shadow as an Echo Fighter. I could see if they waited to do Shadow if they did another Sonic character. Now, in my opinion, I think Tails deserves it more than Eggman, but Tails already has a Mii Fighter costume in this game. However, his Mii Fighter costume is like you wear a Tails hat. You're like a guy in a Tails costume. You're not actually just straight up Tails. But I think Eggman would have a more interesting moveset than Tails. And when I think of modern Sonic, Tails hasn't even been playable for a lot of games. He's not playable in any game besides Sonic Mania and the racing games. Tails really just is not a character anymore. He's just sort of a character who talks to Sonic sometimes. He still should have a moveset and be able to be playable here, but he's really just not a character in Sonic games anymore. Eggman, however, is always the villain. He's always a boss fight. And there's so many boss fights you could choose to make Eggman work. Now, could be any mechanic that could make Eggman a special DLC bullshit character. That's for damn sure. There's so many options for DLC bullshit when it comes to Eggman. Sakurai can pretty much do whatever he wants because there's so many mechs that Eggman fights in. I would not be surprised if you could completely change the entire shape and body of Eggman's entire mech. Change it to the drill thing on wheels, change it to the floating thing and have the wrecking ball come out. He could be like Pokemon Trainer, 3 characters in one, but it just changes between multiple different mechs. He could just have a bunch of different shit, period. There's so many options with Eggman as a playable character. The moveset potential with him is through the roof. He could be so much fun. So they could do it if they really wanted to. There's nothing really stopping them. Eggman there's a lot of creativity with this character. And if they included Eggman, it would give them a reason to include an Echo Fighter, which is the one thing I think is missing from Sonic. Just like how Cloud was missing his spirits, he was missing his music, and adding another character was the excuse to put that stuff in. Sonic is missing an Echo Fighter. And if I have to think of the most obvious thing that truly should have been in the base game that's really missing, it's Shadow as an Echo Fighter. Sadly, because Sonic already has 2 stages, because he already has music, because he already has spirits, it's kind of confusing. I don't know if they could make a bunch of new spirits that make this worth it. I don't know if they could make a bunch of new songs. I mean, there's plenty of music from Sonic, and they could focus on the bad guy themes or boss themes or anything like that. And they could make a stage based off the Death Egg or the Egg Carrier, or, again, so many options here. Possibly even, again, reference Sonic Adventure 2. Make it both an Eggman and Shadow stage by referencing Sonic Adventure 2, and have it based where Tails fights Eggman on the Space Colony arc. That would be a cool stage. So I would love if they did something like that. There's so many possibilities with Eggman. He could be the perfect character. And with all the possibilities of his moveset, he could wrap up this... He could do something completely new that no other Smash character has ever done, which would be a great way to wrap up this character set. So, while I think Eggman is extremely, extremely unlikely, I have him in my dream category, a special category under Chun-Li, because while I think it's not going to happen, I think all signs point to no. When I think of what is missing, I think of Shadow as an Echo Fighter. Now, it's my personal bias, but that's what I think of when I think of something that's missing, that's so obvious, that should have been in here. So, besides that, I don't really have much else to say. I know some people might think Eggman is way too off the rails here and just completely not possible. But when you think of characters that should have been in the base game from the beginning, I don't think people would have necessarily suspected Kazuya from Tekken. I think people would have said, well, Heihachi already made it impossible. I don't think people would have necessarily suspected Steve, because we didn't even know Steve was being in talks and negotiations for 5 years until they announced that after Steve came out. So we might not know. The character might just be like another character who we were already negotiating this, and it just happened to come out last. That could be the case. Maybe part of putting Crash on the Switch was a negotiation to put Crash into Smash. That's completely possible. It's completely possible. They put Resident Evil on the Switch. They put Devil May Cry on the Switch. They put Ninja Gaiden on the Switch. A lot of games have been ported to the Switch lately. Tekken wasn't even put on the Switch, but Tekken got in. So it's impossible to predict at this point. But I do think that it will still fit this theme of characters that probably should have just been in the base game already. I think the exciting characters that they planned from the very start were Pass 1. I think Pass 2 were the characters that's meant to fix things and right some wrongs, you know? So that's the only reason why I say Eggman. I think Eggman could totally work. And with all these new villains in the game, including Sephiroth and Kazuya, I think seeing Eggman would really just be freaking awesome. Sephiroth is the kind of villain that when you see him fight against any character, it just makes sense, because Sephiroth is that popular of a character. This isn't as much true for Ridley and K. Rool, but they are Nintendo first-party characters, and Samus and Donkey Kong were OG characters since the original Smash 64, so they do deserve more characters, straight up. But when it comes to iconic villains, just like how Ken is overshadowed when it comes to iconic Echo Fighters, when it comes to iconic villains, I think Sephiroth is number one, because he's so, like, fighting him in Kingdom Hearts and everything is such a big thing. But Eggman is right there. Let's be real. Eggman deserves to be in this game. He totally deserves it. It's just a matter of, will Sakurai do it? Again, might be breaking some rules to put Eggman in, and putting an Echo Fighter with Shadow 100% is breaking some rules. But it could be possible. We could see it happen. It's not impossible at all. It's definitely possible, but it's so unlikely that I have it in a special dream category, and that's why Shadow is next to Eggman here. Because it's not that I just want any Sonic character, it's that I think these two coming together would be the ultimate dream. But if we can't have Shadow as an Echo Fighter, I would still gladly take Eggman as a final character. I just think it would make too much sense to also include Shadow as an Echo Fighter. Give Sonic some villains to fight. That'd be freaking cool. Anyway, I'm going to end this one here, and that's all my predictions for here. I really don't think... I mean, a lot of people's dreams were crushed today with Shantae and Dante, which rhyme for some reason. But a lot of people's dreams were crushed today, and I'm sorry for that. Yeah, and also I don't know where to put Jill on this list, but I do think if they put a Capcom character in, it will be a Resident Evil character. She's just in the RIP section, because I kind of think Capcom's not getting in at all at this point. They didn't have a character in Pass 1. But hey, Namco didn't have a character in Pass 1, and they got one finally in Pass 2. But the difference is that Capcom still got Ken in base game, and Namco got no one in base game. So, we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to end this one here, and I'll see you guys on the next one.